Hi, Mike here with another Badonsky Buccaneers video fishing report. In this episode, I'm headed offshore with my friend Mark, his brother-in-law Greg, and their wives Debbie and Janice. We're on Mark's boat, the Real Naughty, a 32-foot pursuit offshore sport fisher. We're mainly looking for amberjack before the federal season closure, which is the 28th of September, but we'll be doing some trolling as well, looking for a mixed bag to bring home. So with a long ride ahead of us, we head out early. By the time we made it out the pass, we realized it wasn't going to be quite as calm as we had hoped. We traveled about 40 miles or so without seeing much, but decided to put out some trolling lures and give it a try anyway, including ballyhoods, hoochie, and snagger daisy chains, and others. After several miles, we hooked into this bonita. We secured the trolling gear and ran over to the rig to try for something better. We really didn't see much on the sonar, but we tried dropping down live pinfish and some mullet anyway. We didn't have much luck. Evidently the sharks were the only thing biting here, as we lost several drop rigs to them. And by now the seas were knocking us around a bit too, so we moved on. Mark wanted to try a couple other spots, but our luck didn't change much until we stopped near the Allen wreck on the way back in. This is where those AJs were hiding all day. Here, Mark and Greg were using live baits on 30 to 50 pound class spinning and conventional gear, while I was dropping down a yellow glow Shimano flatfall jig on one of the twins. My jig really worked great in this shallow wreck, and the fish caught on the jig seemed to be bigger than the ones that they were catching on the live baits. Greater Amberjack, also known as AJs and reef donkeys, are actually pelagics, much like the king mackerel. Their habitat usually runs from about 60-foot depths out to about 300-foot depths, and can normally be found on all sorts of reefs, wrecks, and locally near offshore oil and gas platforms. They are voracious feeders and often swarm prey like a pack of wolves. They're often targeted and caught close to taller bottom structure, but are also caught with topwater poppers if teased up with chum or lures, and I have even caught them on weed lines. Here, Greg's wife Janice has a smaller one hooked up, but he's still giving her a good fight. She caught this one with a live pinfish on a knocker rig. Undersized, we safely released him. We had to cull through several of the smaller ones before nearly reaching our limit. A number of times while retrieving my jig, I would see a school of the amberjack, follow it up, and I would tell whoever was closest to me to drop their bait down, hoping to get one to bite. I managed to hook several of the fish on that jig at this location before they seemed to get wise to it, and I had a more difficult time enticing them to hit it. But it still seemed like the jig produced more sizable fish than the live baits. The greater amberjack appear very similar to their smaller cousin, the lesser amberjack, and although differences as in larger eyes and deeper bodies than the greater amberjacks, they are subtle differences, and to the untrained eye they can be virtually indistinguishable one from the other. For a lot of anglers, the only way they can tell the difference between a greater and lesser amberjack is by counting the gill rakes. Gill rakes being the thin bony parts of the gill protruding off of the gill arch, which prevent potentially harmful passage of prey or other material through the gills and out the gill slits. The greater amberjack has 11 to 19 rakes, and the lesser amberjack has 21 to 24. If using this identification procedure, do so without touching or otherwise harming the gills, and make a speedy assessment, quickly returning the fish to the water if you're not keeping it, reducing the mortality chances. Also, if releasing a fish, it is best to plunge them head first into the water, as you may have seen on other fishing shows. It is believed to give them a burst of water and oxygen across the gills and perhaps a burst of energy. Greg has a decently barely legal sized AJ here. He did a good job of getting it to the boat, and I snatched it on board for him. The federal government only within several years ago started regulating and placing limitations on harvesting amberjack. As of earlier this year, the federal minimum length went from 30 inches to 34 inches fork length for the Gulf states, and our bag limit today is 1 per person. Actually, amberjack were considered trash fish by most anglers many years ago. I assume this is because they were known to have worms, but I've only really noted this in some of the larger fish I've caught. Many anglers nowadays consider them great table fare, and I don't think the worms are any more an issue than what I've seen in speckled trout. In any case, they're really great sport fish to target, extremely hard fighters, and they're not shy and will often follow another hooked fish to the boat. As I pull my last fish into the boat and declare my exhaustive conclusion to fishing today, let me ask you to stay tuned for another Mike's Tackle Box for a description of the gear I was using and more useful tips.
You know the words of Braxton. I'm done.
Hi, Mike here with another Mike's Tackle Box. Today we're going to discuss some of the gear we utilized on this trip. First up, my rod and reel combo was one of the twins. My Penn Spinfisher 8500 series reel on a Blue Water Carnage 30 to 50 pound class rod. Now these have been great setups not only for jigging but also for pitch baits and drift lines. Now the Blue Water Carnage rods were recently discontinued but are going to be re-released in a new and improved design this November. I can't wait to get one of those and try them out. We were using a Shimano flat fall jig to catch these amberjack. They're really good for these shallow water wrecks. They get their action on the way down and then you can jig them back up. And the yellow really seemed to hit the target for those AJs on this video. The other thing I wanted to share with you today is what we use to help pack all of our rods and reels in the Tahoe for taking trips. Whether a longer trip like in the last video where we went to the Keys, or like in this video where I just grabbed a couple to go down and meet friends to go out on their boat. We get a couple of these travel rod hangers and put one over the rear door area and the other one over the cargo area in the back of the Tahoe and put all of our rods and reels across the top of them like that. I've also utilized some rod hangers on the bottom of the rear one so we can put a few extra ones in there like when we're taking long trips and we're taking all of our gear. Real handy, real safe, real secure. We don't have to worry about anybody trying to steal them off the back of the truck, off the back of the boat, or off the top of the Tahoe in a travel case or anything like that. So that's just a little travel tip from us. We hope you found it useful. The other thing I'd like to mention today is how much I appreciate all of our subscribers for subscribing and watching our videos. We encourage you to share them with your friends and family, and please like our videos. Now, this is just a hobby for us. We don't do it for any money or income or anything else, but we like sharing our adventures, and it does take a little bit of time and effort to put these videos together, so we'd appreciate it if you'd let us know how much you enjoy them and like them, and continue sharing them. Well, that's another Mike's Tackle Box done with, and we hope you have a wonderful day. Well, that about wraps it up for this Badonsky Buccaneers video fishing report. We hope you found it informative as well as entertaining. In our next video, it's our fall Crystal River trip with friend and guide Captain Mario Castillo and Tall Tales Charters, and some hot inshore action with the boys. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.